Today, I've got another invincible king on the show, Priestley. Mare is a partner at Global Private Partners, a private equity investment firm based in Asia, and the author of the book, The $1 Million Payday. Mare also has a bachelor's degree in engineering and computer science from Monash University. He has lived and worked in over 9 countries, and this is the AMZSecrets.com show, episode 93. I'm your host, David Aladdin. Before we jump in, quick announcement. I will be in China on the 14th of September this month, looking to mastermind when I'm out of my castle. So shoot me an email and I'll try my best to meet up with you. Let's skip past the sponsors and right into it. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks, David, and fantastic to be here. And I'm sure you're going to have a great time in China if you've never been there before.
Yeah, I've never been. Should be interesting. No idea what's about to happen.
It's a little eye-opening, but I know where you're going. You're going to Yiwu, and you're gonna absolutely be gobsmacked as to what opportunities there are. It's just amazing.
You're based in Asia, correct?
Yeah, look, I'm currently sitting in Australia. We're just finishing up selling our house, and we're on our way to move to Singapore. But I've been living and working in Asia for since the year 2000, really. I lived in Korea and then came back to Australia, lived in Japan for a bit, and then lived in Singapore. So it's definitely, I'm no stranger to Asian cities.
Can you actually take us to the beginning, before this whole journey began? Where did it all begin?
I guess it started, I used to work with EDS, Electronic Data Systems, big IT outsourcing company based in Dallas, Texas. You guys in your audience may remember Ross Perot. Ross Perot was the CEO of EDS, and it's kind of where I learnt systemization. How to systemize what you do and really do it extremely well. And EDS was a world leader at it. And that sort of got me into Asia. I was running customer service for the EDS in Australia, then EDS in Asia. I got to meet one of the customers, which was a private equity firm who bought a bank in Korea, and got to know them really well as part of helping to sell some services to them. And then joined them. Actually left EDS, joined the PE firm that bought the bank, and then had 3 years of completely unlearning everything I'd learnt about how to run a business. Now, albeit this is a big one, right? So this is not a small business. This was running a bank of 8,000 staff. And look, all I did is I ran around and fixed projects. So I looked at all the things that they were doing and help them get it fixed. But it was the start of my real understanding of what happens. Then did a whole bunch of projects for a number of other companies, and then landed up back in Australia, I guess semi-retired, but needed to go and do something, and started a little cosmetics company. Learnt about direct marketing, and at that time going back to the days of Jay Abraham and Gary Halbert, and some of what I guess are now the pioneers of the internet marketing world. Absorbed a lot. Big transition coming from a big company where you've got lots of resources to help you, then to having to do it for yourself as a small company. And then just continue to move along. Got an opportunity to get back and run a mid-sized firm again, and then I guess I've stumbled back to where I am, and that was with that thinking of let's figure out how to scale something based on getting some investment. And look, there's been as you can see, there's a lot of grey hair. What's left of it comes from learning lessons. Where we bought into an Amazon business about 2 years ago, acquired a couple, well, actually 3 more brands, and tried to pull them in, and have learned a lot. I mean, I've learned kind of a lot of lessons as to what not to do on the Amazon world. But we're constantly looking for more opportunities, as we are talking about prior. We've got an opportunity at the moment. We're moving into the Shopify and Facebook world, the dropshipping world. We've got a services company now that provides services, paid traffic, sponsored ads, Facebook traffic, and ranking services to Amazon sellers, to Shopify sellers. There's a lot of opportunities. So
Yeah.
we are kind of looking at the moment to for what companies exist that can provide services to e-commerce. That's kind of our focus, and we've sort of, if we find the right company, then there's ways and means of making that, of seeing that what we can do to acquire them and pull them into the mix. So yeah, there's lots of, and I'm sure I've just skipped over a bunch of things that have happened, but
It's very
there's lots of
interesting.
things
Yeah.
going on.
You've been in lots of different size companies and you started out on the very large size and then you went into, that mid-sized firm and then also started your own cosmetics company. Um,
Yeah.
what was like your thought process between, what you like to do, you know?
Look, I'll tell you one thing I've learned on the way through is go figure out what you're good at.
Mm,
And there's a number of tools to be able to do that. And I guess, look, I'm probably doing something right now that I'm actually not good at, and but I know that, and therefore I'm kind of working to get back to doing things that I'm actually good at.
mm,
And I see that in a lot of people that we talk to, they're just doing the wrong thing, and it's not their fault. It's simply that they're just not cut out for doing that. If you're used to running if you've just retired, semi-retired from a large company, then it's probably not the smartest idea to go and buy a franchise or do something where you're suddenly the only person in the company doing all the work, because it's just a big change. Um, there's a bunch of online tools that you can use to kind of figure out, what you're good at. One really good one is a book called The Strengths Finder. And there's another one, if you know the guy named Roger Hamilton, has got a wealth dynamics profile that you can do online. Again, just there's a number of ways to do it, but figure out what you're good at, and by whatever means possible, try and stick to that, and you'll have a much smoother journey. Um,
y-
but
uh,
even smart people can get that wrong.
yeah. You can tell that you're an entrepreneur. I mean, even before the show, we were talking, oh, it's 4 a.m. over there. Very surprised at how
It is
early you
4
wake up.
a.m.
Yeah. What's your
Yeah.
let's before we jump into the Amazon side, what's your morning routine look like?
It's definitely not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Look, mostly now I tend to get up, not I guess not that early, into the 6 o'clocks or whatever,
Yeah.
um, and then read. I try and spend a least amount of time on email.
Mm.
Um, do maybe email sort of once later in the morning, and then once after lunch, and then once again about 4 p.m. But read. I'm absorbing lots and lots of material, new ideas. What are people up to? Not really Facebooking, but you know what I mean. Looking at blogs, at podcasts, and listening to ideas. Catching up with the team that are we've got a team in the Philippines. We've got a team in Singapore. Just catching up with them, making sure everything's still on track, and talking to. My time in the morning tends to be the later afternoon in the US. So, talking to current customers, talking to new customers, finding out, what they're interested in and whether we can help.
Mm.
Sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. No problem. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of my morning. It's not really different. I'm an old-fashioned guy, right? So I write stuff down.
I don't know.
Uh,
Like most people don't read actually. Like I actually mostly listened to podcasts before, but I've been just jumping into books and I find that you get so much more into depth on a particular subject when you're reading a book. And so I've been pushing myself to go through a book a week or, I feel like that's pretty ambitious, but maybe it's not for you.
no, I mean, you can see behind me that's kind of maybe, I
Yeah.
don't know, a tenth of the books that I've got, but we buy a lot of Kindle books.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah. I
yeah, I
know.
mean, physical
Yeah.
books are good. I mean, I only got to reach over it, and this one you may recognize. This is not a sales pitch or anything, but there's some Russell Brunson books
Very cool. I
on
actually
funnels.
saw an ad on that. You guys invested in one of his companies?
Well, not so much invested in his companies, but invested in his software.
Yeah.
We definitely use ClickFunnels
Mm.
as a tool. And again, um, really happy to invest in any software that makes it easier. Um, sure, you could probably develop it and build it yourself, but why bother? I mean, you just get speed to market. Just buy the tool. It's like $97 a month or something.
Mm.
And yeah, we're definitely doing a lot more with funnels. Rather than sending someone straight to a product page, send them to a funnel page.
What's your typical,
And
yeah, what's your typical upsell on that? I mean, what's the presentation look like on your funnel?
look, it's different all the time.
Mm.
One of the biggest things that we do is split test everything.
Mm.
So split test whether it's a funnel, whether it's a just a plain product page, what the upsell is, what the quantity breaks are, what the what the bundling is,
Mm.
all of that, what the color of the buttons are, what the prices are. I mean, everything is split tested. I guess that's one of our trade secrets is to split test everything all the time, even like
Mm.
Amazon stores, prices, headline images, hero images, everything.
And you guys,
It's
you guys have systematized that as well, right? Like, so it's not like you doing it; it's armies
yeah,
of
look,
people.
I'm definitely not doing it. So yeah, look, they're not armies. It's a medium-sized group of people, but yeah, everything is systemized.
Mm.
There's a conscious effort and a conscious discussion in the company about can you systematize creativity, and it's the one thing that a lot of people struggle with. Um, you know, how do you come up with 7 different headline ads, or headlines for sponsored ads on Amazon, or Facebook ads, that coming up with that creativity. Maybe we're picking on different emotions. We want a headline that appeals to joy. We want a headline that appeals to gratitude. So somebody's got to creatively come up with that. But you can
Mm.
systemize everything around that. So once they've done that, they can then hand that off to somebody who then can just follow the rules and get it done, and get it implemented, get it tested, measured, to then know whether that ad is working or has beat the previous one or not. So yeah, definitely heavy on systems,
Mm.
and it's something that a lot of people. When again we see a lot of companies, we talk to a lot of people who are, entrepreneurs, and they're doing stuff, and they generally have less systems than they think. They think they've systemized a bit, but they haven't.
Yeah.
So we generally have over systemized.
Mm.
But I guess you can't be too systemized, I think.
I, I'm just trying to think. Like, every time I've launched a system into place, it's just made my life so much easier. My biggest thing is creating that system and then just letting go of like these tasks. You know, is there
Yeah.
is there like a secret
Look
to
at
that? Like, just boom, boom,
look
boom, boom.
there's a number of secrets to creating systems.
Mm.
A really good friend of mine, I heard him talk recently, and he mentioned that he has a sign on top of his desk which is, "Will I ever need to do this again?" Question mark.
Oh, that's good.
And if you read that and go, "Well, yeah, I do, therefore it's worth systemizing. It's worth just taking a screen capture video and then giving it to a PA to turn that into a checklist, or turn that into a step by step,
Mm.
and suddenly there's a system." A lot of people think, oh, I need 40 systems to run the company. Well, you probably need 300. There's probably 300 things that that happen, on a repetitive basis, that it would be worth documenting and getting it done. Therefore, you can get somebody else to do it in the future. So
Mm.
yeah, there's another thing around systems is when you're say interviewing somebody about how they do something, interview them backwards, as in get them to start at the end and work backwards to the start. Um,
Benjamin
it's
Button.
called the it's called the Merlin method, but what it does is that a lot of people who are just really intelligent, when you ask them what do they do, when they describe it to you, they mentally skip over steps, because to them it's so easy,
Mm.
and so they skip steps. Whereas if they have to think backwards, they really have to think. So you start at the end and interview them backwards. What has to happen just prior to doing this for you to have that? So then what happens prior to that? What happens prior to that? And then you'll get a more accurate view of what actually happens.
Yeah, I agree.
It's too
Yeah, breaking
too
it
simple.
down.
Yeah.
I literally
Look,
stole your idea. I just wrote, "Will I ever have to do this again?" on a sticky note and stuck it on my laptop, my computer screen. So,
and I bet you as you go through the day, there's a lot. You'd be surprised how many things you do that you have to do again. So there's one good one. And I guess the premise of the book, The $1 Million Payday, is about, well, building a business to sell it. Therefore, the more you can systemize it, the more your intellectual property is actually documented, and the more chance that somebody can follow it. Therefore, you can scale and have more people doing the work, which makes your business bigger, which makes you get more money for your company at the other end. Sounds simple, doesn't it?
sounds simple. But there's a lot. It's a huge journey to just systematize and everything. And then also like taking your hands off the buttons so that others can do it, and then also forfeiting the cash that it costs to give someone to take over those systems as well. It's like that triple prong approach.
Well, it's kind of, you have to do it, don't you? You just have to swallow it and decide that, look, my hourly rate is better spent on making more sales or doing things that bring in more money, and therefore, offload the work to somebody who gets paid less. I mean, in the Philippines, teams are great. Romanian teams are great. There's teams all over the world that are eager to do great work. People come to work to do a good job. They don't come to work to screw things around. And so give them the opportunity. One thing we do with our systems is we develop it and then hand it to a team and say, here, can you fix it for me? So you're giving them permission to actually look at it and decide whether that's something that actually is the way that they would do it. And therefore, if they need to fix it, they have permission to do that. And therefore, they can take ownership of that system, which means you've got a greater chance they'll follow it.
Yeah. We've had a lot
Hmm.
of people come on the show, but no one's gone into this much detail into systems, which is I find it really awesome. So
Look,
anything,
it's
yeah, anything you've
hugely
got on
it's
systems, I
hugely
want to know.
important. Look, it's hugely important. I mean, again, you start with just getting rid of the stuff that is just annoying.
Yeah.
Therefore, let's call it the owner of the company. If you're sitting there and you have to do these things all day, start just deciding, well, you know what, I need to get rid of that thing. Then do the work to get rid of it. Then immediately you'll see how that time has been freed up. Now, that doesn't mean you spend more time on the couch, reading. It means that you've now got more time to think and go focus on the things that can actually bring in revenues, bring in cash, bring in growth. What joint ventures can you do? What new products can you source? All of the things that you should be doing.
Mm.
Which is, again, I do spend more time thinking and finding, the things that I can do that actually, help, because, our services company, we want to continue to grow that. Right now, we're trying to get out of a products business. We made a whole bunch of mistakes in acquiring, these product companies, and it's not working. And so
Mm.
it's a problem, and we need to fix it. There's no sense in putting our head in the sand and saying, hey, it'll all get better. In the Amazon world, things don't get better. If you don't source correctly,
Yeah.
and you're about to go on and go learn in China how you can actually source really, really well. If you don't source correctly, then you are running backwards before you start.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson learnt to us and our business, and we're still paying for it. So I'd say another month or two, and it will have got out of it, and it'll be out of it for maybe 10 cents in the dollar.
Wow.
But we need to do that in order to allow the other parts of the company to thrive, which is, providing, as I said, the sort of sponsored ad, pay-per-click services and ranking services, things that are useful and are growing. People, customers are loving it. It's things that a lot of Amazon, especially Amazon owners are not good at, and it has an immediate effect.
Yep.
Being able to be good at sponsored ads and Amazon marketing services has an immediate effect, because like literally in a week you've got more sales as a result of very little spend. So yeah, it's good.
Let's go deeper into what you were just talking about. You said there was like a major mistake, some type of product that you sourced wrong. What happened there? Like, what was the product issue, or how do we avoid that?
Look, how do we avoid that? Well, okay, so we business partner and I came into and we teamed up with another guy, and we looked at what he had going, and he was doing a really good job. I'll tell you right now that he, as a sort of a he had a few VAs hired in overseas, and he was doing a good job for him. What we said is let's get some investors and let's scale it. Let's apply some money to scale up. That's when we went wrong. We, as in me, probably didn't watch enough detail as to what was going on. Same with my business partner, and we ended up sourcing a bunch of product that we just simply spent too much. It was a race to get things in before Christmas. You've got to have your shipping pretty much done as of now. You need to be in stock, ready to go for the Christmas rush. Otherwise, you get hit with freight charges. Again, all of this was new to us.
Yeah.
And everything just kind of cavalcaded on the way through. We wasted too much money on packaging. On Amazon, no one buys a product because it's got a nice box. So that's a complete waste of money. And we just spent too much. We bought too much. And the net result is, if that was a year ago and we've still got stock, and now the competitors have caught up, so you've got price gouging. So when we thought we could sell something for $29, well, we're lucky to be able to sell it for 14 now. Well, our margin's gone. Some of our costs might be $10.70 or something for a particular product. Can't sell it for 14.
Yeah.
Amazon fees, suddenly we're backwards. Amazon long-term storage fees kick in. Look, I can, makes me cringe thinking about it, but it's a fantastic lesson learned to not do that. Really, really smart person that I know that's, one of the most brilliant sourcing guys that I know, and you've interviewed him in the past, has said to me that, you've got to be able to, all your profit comes from when you buy, when you source in this world, in the Amazon, e-commerce world. And if you can buy it cheap, don't waste money on packaging, test it with buying 20 units or 50 units and go test it to see if anyone's going to buy it. And maybe 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 products will actually sell well. Then you can start to scale up and buy more. But don't go and buy 4,000 units of a product just because you think it's a cool product. That's like a disaster, recipe for disaster.
I feel like, when I know it's painful for you to talk about it, but these are like the best lessons that we can learn from. And I feel like as a seller, we don't really learn it until it actually happens to us. I've had the same issue as you, especially the allure of Christmas coming and just overcompensating with numerous or volume of products. Just buying too much volume before the holidays and just trying to force it into Amazon before those deadlines hit. How much did you guys kind of like? Can you say how much you guys like burned?
At least $500,000.
Okay, so this is a lot bigger than my mistake. But yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, look, mistakes. They it doesn't get any easier just because it gets bigger. I know that. But look, there's lessons learned from, if you're the one running the company. At the time, we had 3 equal partners. Well, I can tell you that doesn't work either. You kind of need somebody in charge to kind of watch what's going on.
Yeah.
You need to be on top of your numbers. You need to know that, for example, if you're spending money on advertising and you understand ACOS, how much advertising am I spending to sell this product as a percentage of, the sales? Well, if your ACOS is getting to, say, 30%, then you're probably getting close to not making any money.
Mm.
If it gets to 100%, you're definitely not making any money. And look, there may be a reason to do 100%, but geez, it better be a good one, and not for long. And so, we hired an external company. That's I'm not going to mention their name because it's our mistake, not theirs. But they are a professional company who market themselves as being an expert at pay-per-click sponsored ads,
Mm.
and they just we weren't watching how much they were spending for us, and so we woke up one day with fantastic revenue. I think it was in January of this year actually, with really good revenue after having a really good December, and December was really profitable. And then in January we had really good numbers, and we're thinking this will be great, and then found out that we were negative on Amazon, and it
Wow.
was like, what? Because I'm sure you put your credit card down. So if there's a negative on Amazon, and Amazon don't think you're gonna catch up next month, then they
Wow.
ping your credit card, and it was like, man, that was an eye opener, because that
That,
was
yeah.
yeah that was a real eye opener, because suddenly everything that was sold effectively was sold at a loss in January. And look, everyone learnt from that experience. So, and look, we're still digging our way out now. So it's in that product side, for the products that we bought. Hey, look, there's still some that sell at profit, and that's great. We've applied lots of our own thinking on as to how to offload it, but man, there's some products there that just I think we've still got 4,500 units of one product left, and there's not a hope in hell we can sell it for what we paid for it. So
Mm.
we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
hey, lessons learned help you with scaling. And look, part of um, my humility is the fact that I'm all about scaling, and how do we grow things? How do we get new joint ventures? How do we get new partnerships? And so I'm busy off into the thinking into the future. Well, you really do have to have somebody who's watching the present and
Yeah.
watching what's happening right now. Is it working? Is it not working? If it's not working, what are we going to do? Um, because yeah, you certainly can take when the road goes left and there's a left and a right turn up front, you've got to pick one. And if you pick the wrong one, maybe that's not going to work for you. So
I find that, every time I've hit like these major lows, like it sounds like this was like a major low for you. Had to be. Um, it's become the biggest, lesson and learning event for me. So,
oh, look,
all your decisions
undoubtedly
forward have,
same.
yeah,
Agree.
have
Look, a
changed
lot of
based on
people,
that experience.
a lot of successful people are successful, but they don't know why. And if you have a look, I don't think I've ever met anybody who is really good at what they're doing that hasn't had, some major lessons on the way through. So, and look, some of the major lessons for this particular venture is simply that, what? Maybe we as a team are not the best at doing this part, which is sourcing and launching a product.
Mm.
And if we break down, what has to happen in an Amazon business anyway, is that sourcing at the start and everything, getting the product selling. I think from there on in, the team is supremely, good at. They're great at getting it moving, getting those initial sales off, getting the momentum, running, the
Yeah.
sponsored ads, getting some, lots of ranking, third party traffic coming through, and really building up and getting listed on page one, and all the things that you want to do, but for products that have at least made some sales. They've at least have some momentum. There's where the expertise is. The expertise is not in the prior bit, which is the sourcing part. So yeah, we won't do that with our own products ever again. So that was a core decision made. that we'll focus on the things we're good at. And remember, I said at the start, not only am I focusing on things that I'm good at, but we want the team to focus on the things they're good at, and then cut the things that you're not good at.
This episode of AMZ Secrets is brought to you by our Amazon seller tools. AMZsecrets.com VIP supercharges your Amazon listings. It uses big data from Amazon and Google in a meaningful way to increase the traffic to your Amazon listings. I use them with my brand, and I am personally ranked in the top 5 of some major Amazon categories. It's not a golden bullet, as you need marketing and good brand strategy, but having the ultimate Amazon listings goes a long way. To learn more about it, go to amzsecrets.com.
And I think if I was smarter, I would have cut it, a good 4 months ago, as opposed to 2 months ago. But hey, we are where we are. It's this is this particular venture. We're looking at a whole bunch of companies that are not only on the Amazon side, but certainly we've got looking at a company that is got an online accounting software, and trying to work out, well, what can we do with that? There's so many opportunities. It's not funny. There's more opportunities than there is ability to execute. And look, we've got a group of investors that, although are not very fast at pulling their money out of their wallet, but they want proof that, hey, this is a good investment. So that's where we spend a lot of time. Yeah. That, for example, that accountancy company. Well, there's a couple of free accountancy software now that are coming out all over the world. So, it makes it's a competitive environment. Can you imagine that? For giving away free software is a competitive environment. So is there any value in what that team are doing? So at the moment, we don't know, but at the end of the day, the answer might be, well, there's nothing. Therefore, there's no sense in us looking at it any further.
Huge demand in that
makes
area.
Any sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
In the accounting section, it's a struggle to do the accounting properly, and I think I managed 3 different tools to get it all together. So, but yeah.
Look, I think we're going to go back. I think the trend is that we're going to go back to how it used to be, which is that you would just collect all your receipts and everything, and you would get them off to your accountant, and your accountant would take care of it.
Yeah. And
then we sort of moved into the whole self-serve world where, you sit there and punch it into MYOB or Quicken or, QuickBooks or whatever tools you've got. Then, what's happened is that QuickBooks, you can now, get software for free that does exactly that. Well, but you're still doing all the work.
And then
that work is that's low level work, and you still might be coding it incorrectly. So I think the rise of the online bookkeeper is coming back, where you simply just scan all your receipts and they then take care of it. They punch all the data in and show you the reports and everything you need, and hand it off to your accountant to do the tax return, and you're done. So yeah, it's an interesting world we live in. There's always some great opportunity, but look, again, that's why I put that book together, and the book is simply around how to take a private equity or an investor's view of the company. And if you think about it, everything that I would look for in a company is I'm looking to buy it cheap. It's kind of like, you want to buy your products cheap.
For sure.
If you don't buy it cheap, then you've really got no chance that you can probably, make some money at the other end. So most people who want to sell a company want to sell it expensive. So what I've done in this book, and I'm happy to make it available to any of your listeners, and you can download it. It is available on Amazon, but hey, I'll give you a link, and you can download a digital version for free. But it's not a big book, but it's got some thinking around what does private equity and what does an investor look in a company if they want to buy an online business, an Amazon business or a Shopify business, or just an e-commerce business. What do you look for? And therefore, the 180-degree view of that is probably what you need to focus on fixing in your company in order to sell it for a lot more money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's go into that. How do I sell it for a lot of money, but at the same time make it a bargain for you?
Well, you can't. That's the dichotomy, isn't it? That's the weird. And I haven't used that word in a long time. Wow, I don't know where that came from.
From
But
reading.
the yeah, so something must have sunk in.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that if you're going to sell a company, then you're not selling it to. It depends on the audience you're trying to sell it to, right? And that depends on the price of the company. The more expensive, as in, you've got a company that's worth, say, 1 million to 5 million, you're selling to a different audience than, say, from 5 million to 20 million. And if you're selling under 1 million, you're selling to a different audience. You're selling more to an individual who, maybe a high net worth individual, or somebody who's looking for a little portfolio of companies. He wants to keep, the current team, managing it. Someone, a little small business or a medium-sized business, they will spend more on a company. So you've got to kind of, make a decision as to, who do you want as a target as a buyer? Because do you want a buyer or an investor? I mean, an investor is going to invest money, but they're not going to do any of the work. They want you to continue to do the work and give them a return.
Yeah.
Whereas if you want a buyer, they're going to buy you out 100%, and then you leave and go do something else. So there's a couple of decision points. But if you think like an investor first and think like, well, if I was going to invest in this company, what would I do to fix it or to improve it or to scale it? Well, then go do that for yourself. Go build it and scale it, because you'll simply be worth more at the other end.
When you take a company over, how many companies have you taken over, by the way?
Well, I've when I worked for EDS, that's what we were doing all the time. So literally hundreds. Then working for the private equity firm, which was the biggest one in the world, Texas Pacific Group. Definitely working on one of their big takeovers, and then for myself, a couple, and then with this most recent venture, 4, and looking to do more and more and more. So, I've seen quite a lot. I've seen a lot of different types of companies, different sizes, and look, I can kind of distill it down that there's mostly about 3 or 4 things that are always wrong or always can be improved.
That's where I was getting. Okay, let's go.
All right. Generally the number one thing I would look for is that the owner has a vision of what they want to achieve, but they keep it a secret. And so the rest of the team, either a team of VAs or a local team of staff, are not aware of the complete vision of what the owner is wanting to achieve. And so everybody, as I said before, everyone comes to work to do a good job, but they do a much better job if everyone's pointed in the same direction. So the more the owner can articulate that, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve, and to kind of always be talking to staff and the team, because you can't get big without a team. It's a fallacy that oh, look, I want to grow a big company, but I don't like staff. That's just not going to work. So you've got to be able to articulate your vision of what you want to achieve, and you've got to be able to communicate, how are they going towards the vision. And if you let people, give them enough support, they will come up with much better ideas than you. So that one is generally wrong or missing in most companies, big or small, doesn't matter. So there's one thing to fix. If you get everybody aligned and pointed in the right direction, you've got half a chance you'll accelerate to get to there. We've talked systems. Systems, again, always comes up. There's pretty much never a company that I've ever seen that's as systemized in what I would think is the appropriate level. Actually, probably one. There's one company that I know that's a seminar education company in Australia that I know the guys that run it, and I know they teach how to systemize as part of their education. But I know for a fact they've got 280 or 300 odd systems fully documented, videoed,
That's
and
awesome.
the rest of the team can just get on with it. Yeah. And they've got 50 people or something in their extended team, and they're having a great time. And that's a good good business. They'll be able to sell that business really well. Definitely just thinking about that particular company, one of the things that you see in a small business a lot versus a big business is the reliance on the owner. The reliance is on the owner's intellectual property, the owner's personality. If you took the owner out, suddenly everything doesn't work. And so that's obviously a big no-no. If you're going to sell a company, you can't be completely reliant on the owner. You can't be you can't be sort of David Letterman TV show and sell that, right? Because if you're not David Letterman, then, well, what's the TV show worth?
True that.
And, that's a personality-based business. And a lot of small companies are personality-based businesses. You would think in e-commerce and Amazon world that wouldn't be true, but it still is. I mean, I know and I've spoken to many, many Amazon business store owners where, they're the only one who's got the expertise on sourcing, or they're the only one who's got the expertise on launching products. And it just means that, well, you're really going to struggle to sell that company because the new owner doesn't, they don't want you. So if they absolutely need to have you, then that's, you're not going to get as much money for it. So yeah, there's a few for you that are just always, it's always obvious that they can be fixed. And look, another thought for you is, it comes as a general topic of thinking, right? So spending time thinking is the most valuable time an owner can spend, because, thinking is about asking yourself questions. And if you've got the right questions, then sitting down with a pad and writing out, different answers to the same question causes you to really think about what you're doing. So, a couple of questions is, well, how many income streams, do I have in this business? And you might think, well, that's easy. I get money by selling on Amazon. Well, is that all the possible income streams you could have? And if you could spin up, you could probably come up with 16 income streams for a typical Amazon business. Now, some of them may not be viable. However, if you could get 2 or 3 income streams going, isn't that better than one? As long as you're not, completely changing the focus for the company and all the rest of it. But as long as you're smart about it, just coming up with more income streams is a good thing. How do I get more referral business? How can I get more of my customers to buy more product? Can they refer their friends? Can I put a friends and family program in place? Can I put a VIP club in place? Can I put what else can I do to improve referrals? And again, just spending time thinking about that opens new doors. And I think that's where smart owners are just, will kill it compared to other owners. So, there's some thought.
I feel like the listeners are like, I gotta do the referral program. I gotta do this, that, systemize this. So definitely giving them a lot to think about.
If you thought about it, you could probably do 1,000 things, and then that's a different problem. You got to sort of decide, well, 80-20 rule. What are the things that will really have will move the needle the most? Yeah, and again, it comes down to you as the owner knowing what you're good at. If you're the airy fairy, get stuck in the details type person, then it's probably not worth spending time on a few of those things. But if you're, if you can be strategic, then you can move the needle, and it makes a big difference. And it'll make a big difference to selling the company. So,
So it sounds like you understand the whole diversification of multiple income streams. As a seller, we've got multiple channels of income coming from these websites. Do you guys ever focus on retail, like physical brick and mortar?
No.
Totally.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't in this particular case, and I'd probably avoid it. I know there's a movement to do that. I'd prefer to watch what others are doing and see how that's working for them first. I mean, Amazon themselves have obviously moved into Whole Foods and, immediately made some changes. It'll be just interesting to watch what the impact of those changes are. But the other thing is just because Amazon are doing it doesn't mean it's a good idea. They've got a big bank account and they could afford to lose for the next sort of 10 years on Whole Foods, but still be profitable overall as a company. Whereas a small business can't do that. So
I
yeah,
mean, like put our products like into physical retail, like get
yeah,
into Dick's
no.
or Walmart or.
Look, I think if you can do it, I know. Look, I definitely know of businesses that are doing that have moved into well, at the time Sears.com, and because of that, they got themselves into Sears, and then had the same idea with Jet.com and Walmart. So if you get listed on the on the online side first, and you can prove you can sell on that, then you've got half a chance that Walmart will pick you up and put you in store.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one guy I know that has done that successfully was doing about $5 million a year on Amazon first.
Hmm.
So Amazon was the one that he got he cut his he learned everything he needed to learn about his product and the market by selling on Amazon first because it was the easiest. The
Yeah.
other ones are harder to sell. There's less tools to help you promote product, and so you've really got to you've got to be lucky. I guess you've got to be lucky.
Okay,
So
so go ahead.
I was going to say at this stage for what this venture and what our venture is going to do is that no, we're not going to go down that path at all. As I said, we are exiting our product side as fast as we can in order to keep the focus on services. We're actually going to sell a few brands. So there is some products that we've got that do pretty well. We're going to sell them off as part of the exiting, but we've decided what we're good at, and for this venture, we're good at the sponsored ads and ranking, and on the Shopify, the Facebook Shopify, which again is mostly a traffic. That Shopify drop shipping world is mostly all about how to generate traffic. It's that
Yeah,
generating the lead first, because the drop shipping, well, there's no risk of inventory.
so true.
If you find something that works, then absolutely buy it. Buy it in bulk and get it shipped on your own. That's definitely our experience because you'll make more margin. But it's all about the strategies of getting traffic.
You guys have made a pretty big pivot. You've gone from, acquiring brands to now possibly acquiring service companies that service these brands. Is that kind of how I understand it?
Yep, that's true. I mean, I'm talking kind of from two different sides here. I'm talking from one of the investments we've made, and
Hmm.
talking about how it made a big mistake and nearly killed the entire investment, um, and then how it's pivoted to much more about services and the Shopify dropshipping side of things. So that's one side, but the other side of me is that we still have a panel of investors that are wanting us to look at more, what other companies can we look and add to the portfolio that bring value, and that one's starting to take a little bit more time. We're starting to look at more companies, but we've made the conscious decision for that whole portfolio to only look for services companies.
Very
You know,
cool. Yeah.
uh, not look for companies that are taking risk on product, because I think
Products are risky.
they're
They're
definitely
risky.
risky.
Yeah.
But they're risky for those who don't know what they're doing. They're not risky at all for someone who knows what they're doing. Unless you're one of them, then you'll need help. And we figure that there's more people that'll need help, and therefore we're better off having a portfolio of companies that can provide help than actually backing and supporting guys that are really good at
Yeah.
product.
It's
And
like
that's
the
just
yeah.
it's a decision, right? So excuse me, it may be the wrong decision. It wouldn't be the first wrong decision I've made in my life, but it's the one where I think it's got the least issues.
Reminds me of it's like the gold rush in California. Everyone's going for gold, but you guys are providing the shovels.
Yeah, that's the saying, isn't it? When there's a gold rush, sell pans.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a gold rush. There's definitely a gold rush, and I think the Amazon world is gonna. I think it's going to get more difficult, and I think it's going to get more difficult, as soon as next year. Amazon is starting to compete with their sellers, and have been doing so for a while, but it's becoming more obvious. So at some point, there's going to be a hello, why are you competing with me? There's other platforms will no doubt pop up as a result, which we don't know what they will be. I think Walmart is obviously putting a big lot of effort into Jet.com.
And their own website as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I find Walmart.com is actually better than Jet.com.
I think it's the Jet.com team, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the Jet.com team running both, my understanding. But look, I think there's definitely, again, if you decide that you're good at that, then by all means you probably be really good at continuing on. I think that's why I brought it up first. It's the most, for me lately, definitely it's the most important thing that stands out is go figure out what you're good at and then try as much as possible to stick to that. One, you'll enjoy it. Two, you won't think like it's work. You go, that's no problem. It's so easy for me. Whereas it's not easy for other people. So that's kind of telling you, if you just think of the tasks that you do for yourself now that you really enjoy and you think is easy, then they're probably the things you're good at. The things that you don't like and the things you struggle with, figure out how to get somebody else to do that.
Weird. Right, we're just about out of time. So how can people reach out to you?
Look, as I said, the book I put together, it's the $1 Million Payday. It's our perspective on, call it a private equity investor's perspective as to what you would look for in a company, then how to go about then improving that for yourself, and then hopefully selling out for a bigger number. It's available for free. You can download it from the website 1mpayday.com, just the number one, the capital, M just for million, payday.com. And, I think just put an email address in. We're not going to bombard you with sales or anything like that. There's a few videos that come as a result of being on the email list, but generally, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good little read. There's lots and lots of ideas in there, lots of thinking, and there's in fact an entire chapter on just questions to think about, and that's where I think all the good stuff happens. And I'd love to see more people actually, spend more time and improve their business and sell it for a much bigger number. Life's better when you've got some cash.
For sure. Got a lot to think about on that. Awesome. Okay, I'll put that all in the show notes. Thanks for coming on, Murray Priestley, David Ladden, out. This episode of AMZ Secrets is brought to you by our Amazon seller tools. AMZsecrets.com VIP supercharges your Amazon listings. It uses big data from Amazon and Google in a meaningful way to increase the traffic to your Amazon listings. I use them with my brand, and I am personally ranked in the top 5 of some major Amazon categories. It's not a golden bullet, as you need marketing and good brand strategy, but having the ultimate Amazon listings goes a long way. To learn more about it, go to amzsecrets.com. Myrmidons, I hope you loved the podcast as I did. Be sure to check out our live Facebook mastermind group at amzsecrets.com/FB. There's over 5,000 members in there. Also, I'm looking for guests to come on the show to add more value and more golden nuggets. If interested, go to amzsecrets.com/guest. I know you're out there. Yes, you over there. Lastly, please leave a review on iTunes at amzsecrets.com/review. Every review counts and helps spread the word. This podcast has been written, edited, directed by David Ladden, Global King in Amazon, Logistics Strategy, and Building Castles. Hee hee. What? David Ladden, out.